$13 billion. Let that number sink into your mind. That is the budget of an entire small nation. That is enough money to build thousands of hospitals, schools, or feed millions of people. But what did America choose to do? They cast that entire sum into 100,000 tons of cold, hard steel and set it afloat in the middle of the ocean. Welcome to the USS Gerald R. Ford, the most expensive, the largest, and the most controversial warship in human history. Some call it the greatest engineering marvel of the 21st century, an impenetrable fortress, the fist of God, designed to defend freedom. But to many others, perhaps even you, this is just an insane waste. A fat, sitting duck waiting to be torn apart by a $5 million hypersonic missile. Why build such a massive target in the era of drones and guided missiles? Has the U.S. Navy committed the mistake of the century? Or is this beast hiding secret claws that we know nothing about? Today, NavyDoc will not take you on a sightseeing tour. We are going to find the truth. The truth behind the thick armor, the truth about the hellish shock trials, and the final answer to the question, is this $13 billion price tag a floating coffin or life insurance for the world order? If you are a believer in the power of technology or simply want to know where your tax dollars went, buckle up. And don't forget to type truth in the comments if you are ready to face the classified secrets. To understand why they dare to call it a supercarrier, you must forget the concept of ordinary ships. Don't think of it as a boat. Think of it as a city, an armored city that knows how to float. Gestated at Newport News Shipbuilding in Virginia, the only place on the planet capable of forging these nuclear monsters, the USS Gerald R. Ford was not built. It was assembled. Imagine a game of Lego, but every single piece weighs between 80 to 900 tons. These are called superlifts. Over 200 of these massive steel blocks are welded together with millimeter-level precision. The result? A behemoth with a full load displacement of 100,000 tons. Let me visualize that for you. It weighs as much as 400 Statues of Liberty combined. Or, imagine 600 Boeing 747s crushed into a single solid block of steel. Over 1,100 feet long. If you stood it up vertically, it would tower over the Eiffel Tower. I'm sure you're wondering, being this huge, isn't it just target practice? That is a reasonable assumption. But look closer. Unlike the legendary Nimitz class that has served since 1975, the USS Ford isn't just bigger. It is stealthier. The island, the brain of the ship, has been pushed aft and shrunk down. Why? To reduce the radar cross-section, and more importantly, to free up the most valuable real estate on the ocean, the flight deck. This 5-acre flight deck is not just an airport. It is a deadly chessboard, capable of hosting over 75 of the most modern combat aircraft, including the F-35C Lightning II and F-18 Super Hornets. And here is the key point. The difference between $13 billion and scrap metal lies in how many punches it can throw in a single minute. But size isn't everything. What makes the USS Ford a true boogeyman lies deep beneath 9 decks, where the sun never shines. The heart of this monster is 2 next-generation Bechtel A-1B nuclear reactors. In previous generations, reactors simply boiled water to spin turbines. But on the Ford, they are miniature, incredibly aggressive nuclear power plants. They generate 250% more electricity than the Nimitz class. Why is so much power needed? To run the AC for 4,500 sailors? No. Excess power is a strategic calculation. The U.S. Navy knows that the future of warfare is not gunpowder. It is directed energy. They have turned this ship into a giant power outlet, ready for laser weapons and electromagnetic railguns, the things that will shoot down the hypersonic missiles you are afraid of. And the clearest proof of this electrical power is EMALS, the Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System. Many of you have commented criticizing this system as unproven and prone to failure. True, it has had its troubles. But look at the physics. For the last 50 years, we threw planes into the sky using steam. It was jerky, brutal, and damaged the airframes. EMALS changes everything. It uses electromagnetic fields, just like the technology in maglev trains or the most modern roller coasters. The result? It accelerates a 30-ton fighter jet from 0 to 160 miles per hour in just 3 seconds, but smooth as silk. More importantly, it needs no boilers, no fresh water, and resets faster. This allows the Ford to launch planes 25% faster than the Nimitz. In war, launching faster means you live and the enemy dies. But all technology on paper is meaningless if it can't take a real punch. Our audience has exclaimed, "Testing new carrier? Where is the testing?" You want to see tests? Here is the answer. In the summer of 2021, the U.S. Navy did something insane. They took this $13 billion ship out to sea and detonated 40,000 pounds of high explosives right next to its hull. This is called full ship shock trials. The blast was so massive that the U.S. Geological Survey registered it as a 3.9 magnitude earthquake. The goal? To see if this monster would shatter, to see if the welds would snap, if the reactors would leak, and if the sensitive electronics would go dark. Many said, the bigger they are, the easier they sink, just like the Titanic. But the Titanic sank because of an iceberg. And the USS Ford? After enduring the pressure of 40,000 pounds of explosives, equivalent to a heavy naval mine detonating right against its ribs, the ship stood tall. It didn't just stand tall. It returned to port, underwent minor repairs, and was ready to deploy. That is the difference of American military steel. That is why it is expensive. You are not paying for luxury. You are paying for survivability. And don't let the size fool you. This 100,000-ton ship can glide at speeds of over 30 knots. Some veteran sailors even hint that the actual speed is much more terrifying, possibly reaching up to 60 knots. But that is a military secret. Look at it turning. A skyscraper drifting on the ocean surface. This maneuverability, combined with defensive systems, is the first layer of armor against predators beneath the ocean. But the power of metal and explosives is only half the story. A ship, no matter how modern, is just a dead block of iron without a soul. In the next part, we will step inside the Forbidden City. We will meet the 4,500 humans betting their lives every day on the 5 most dangerous acres on Earth. And most importantly, we will answer the toughest question. Can all of this stop hypersonic missiles from Russia and China? Or is $13 billion about to become the world's most expensive artificial reef? Don't take your eyes off the screen. Forget the billion-dollar figures or the giant electromagnets for a moment. Because if you strip all that away, the USS Gerald R. Ford is just a soulless, drifting chunk of metal. What truly makes it the most terrifying weapon on the planet is not the A-1B reactors. It is the heartbeat of over 4,500 human beings living and fighting inside it. Welcome to the Forbidden City in the middle of the Pacific. Many critics say that $13 billion should be used for the homeless. That is a humanitarian view. But there is a truth rarely mentioned. This ship is also a home, albeit harsher than any home on land, for thousands of America's sons and daughters. Who are they? They are not emotionless war machines. They are 19, 20-year-old kids. They just left school, leaving their families, sweethearts, and the safety of land behind. On this ship, the concept of privacy is a luxury that does not exist. Imagine living in a steel box, where you sleep in narrow bunks, called coffins, stacked 3 high. Every time an F-35 lands above your head, the roar echoes down to the lower decks like Thor's sledgehammer striking the ceiling. Sleep here is a battle. The logistics system to feed this city is a marvel no less impressive than the aircraft launch system. Every day, the chefs must prepare over 15,000 meals. The desalination plant on board must filter hundreds of thousands of gallons of seawater into fresh water for showers and to run the reactors. Every day that passes is a battle with isolation. No cell service, spotty internet. Just the vast ocean and iron discipline. Why am I telling you this? So that when you look at the number $13 billion, don't just see money. See the sweat. See the silent sacrifice of the 4,500 crew members. They are the ones guarding our sleep, while they themselves often lose theirs. If below decks is the harshness of life, then above decks, on this 5-acre flight deck, is hell on earth. This is known as the 5 most dangerous acres in the world. Why? Imagine working in the middle of the busiest international airport, but compressed into the size of a football field. Surrounding you are mobile guillotines, helicopter rotors, jet blast strong enough to blow a grown man into the sea, and steel cables taut as guitar strings, ready to slice off legs if they snap. All of this happens while the ship is pitching in rough seas, and the noise reaches 140 decibels, enough to permanently rupture eardrums without protection. But amidst that deadly chaos, you will see a strange beauty. The Navy calls it the ballet of the flight deck. No radio works effectively in the roar of jet engines, so they communicate through body language and color. The rainbow wardrobe. The yellow shirts are the directors, coordinating the chaos. The red shirts are the ordnance experts, assembling bombs. People playing with fire, literally. Purple shirts handle fuel. Green shirts handle the launch. One small mistake by any of them, a forgotten screw, a misread hand signal, and disaster strikes. On the Ford, this work intensity is even more terrifying. Thanks to EMALS technology and advanced weapon elevators, the sortie rate has increased by 33% compared to the Nimitz class. This means the pressure on humans increases accordingly. They have to be faster, more precise. This is where $13 billion technology meets human will. Machines can launch planes, but humans decide if they hit the target. Now let's return to the elephant in the room, the question causing thousands to argue about this issue. Will hypersonic missiles turn the USS Ford into a pile of scrap metal in 5 minutes? Many opinions claim it is a sitting duck, a coffin worth $13 billion. The brutal reality is, yes, hypersonic missiles from Russia and China are a real threat. They fly 5 to 10 times the speed of sound and have unpredictable trajectories. But if you think the US Navy spent $13 billion without calculating that, you are dead wrong. Fact number 1. A carrier never travels alone. The USS Ford is not a lone knight. It is the queen bee of a swarm of killer bees, the Carrier Strike Group. Surrounding it are always Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and Ticonderoga-class cruisers. These are warships possessing the most advanced Aegis defense systems in the world, designed specifically to create an iron dome at sea. Beneath the surface, Virginia-class nuclear attack submarines silently patrol, ready to destroy any threat from the deep. Fact number 2. A system of systems. The USS Ford itself is equipped with top-secret electronic warfare systems. Before a missile can touch the hull, it must pass through a dense wall of electronic jamming, radar decoys, and finally the CIWS Phalanx close-in weapon system, an R2D2 with a machine gun, firing 4,500 rounds per minute and ram missiles. Furthermore, with speeds over 30 knots, the Ford is constantly moving. In the 30 minutes it takes for an enemy missile to locate and fly to it, the ship is moved to a completely different position within a range of hundreds of square miles. Finding a needle in a haystack is hard. Finding a needle moving at 35 miles per hour that knows electronic stealth is even harder. So is it invincible? No. In war, nothing is immortal. But to sink it, the enemy would have to pay a price so high they might never dare to pull the trigger. That is the essence of deterrence. Finally, let's talk about the price tag of $13 billion. I am sure many people will think, why not build hospitals? Why not help the poor? Those are legitimate questions. But look a little wider. An aircraft carrier is not just a killing machine. It is 4.5 acres of mobile, sovereign American territory. It is the most powerful diplomatic tool a president has in hand. When natural disasters strike, tsunamis in Asia, earthquakes in Haiti, who arrives first? Usually the U.S. Navy with these carriers. Why? Because they have nuclear reactors to provide power, desalination plants for clean water, field hospitals, and a massive fleet of helicopters to deliver food to places trucks cannot reach. In those moments, the USS Ford is not the Grim Reaper, it is a guardian angel. And most importantly, the cost of peace. $13 billion is expensive. But do you know what is more expensive? A world war. The presence of these monsters on vital shipping lanes helps ensure the flow of global trade. They are a stern warning sent to any power wanting to break the world order. Don't try it. The price to pay will be too high. If the presence of the USS Ford can prevent a war from breaking out for even one day, then that $13 billion is the biggest bargain in history. USS Gerald R. Ford, CVN 78. It is a controversial engineering marvel. It is America's $13 billion gamble. It could be a target for hypersonic missiles, and it could also be the only savior when the world collapses. But whether you love it or hate it, there is one undeniable thing. It represents the pinnacle of human aspiration. The aspiration to conquer the ocean. The aspiration to forge shields to protect what we love. Machines may become obsolete. Missiles may get faster. But the spirit of the sailors operating it, those staying awake tonight in the pitch-black ocean, will never change. And you? After diving deep into the belly of this beast, has your view changed? Is the USS Ford an obsolete target practice, or the immortal king of the seven seas? Thousands of people are debating fiercely below, and I want to hear your voice. Leave your thoughts. If you appreciate the sacrifice of the sailors, hit like. If you want to see us decode the next military secrets, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I am NavyDoc. See you in the next classified file.